So, welcome to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Delighted that we are together once again. We could write a song about that, couldn't we? How could it go? Let's see. Together again. Anyway, glad everyone is here. Glad I'm here. And that we get to see where the conversation goes today. See what the next level looks like. I'm hoping that somebody has some questions from yesterday. I'm hoping that stirred a few things for everybody. And I did my best to talk about an experience that I haven't really learned how to speak about yet, but I hope it made sense, it fit, and opens a space for application. Put it to work.
Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Good. I need questions today.
Okay. The PDF, the formula for living and being.
Yes.
I haven't even finished it. It's been so wild around here. I'm partway through. Have you pushed this through the AI? Is this total Michael Ryce or Michael Ryce as organized by AI?
No, that's Michael.
Good, because it's
That's
good.
Michael.
Good. Well, I'm not far enough to start yelling at you about some need for copy editing. It's good. It's as if you are already being your own AI here. So anyway,
I'm not sure. Well, I guess that's a compliment, isn't it? Because
it
AI
is.
does definitely improve things.
Well, it seems more organized. I mean, sometimes you'll send, and this hasn't happened in a long time, but I've copy edited some things of yours, and sometimes it's all there, but one sentence might need to go in paragraph 5, and you've got it up in paragraph 2, and it just needs a little arranging. You're so going nuts because you have got all this stuff coming in. You're trying to verbalize downloads that are not verbalizable. And of course, it's like scattershot on
Now,
the paper.
wait a minute. You're a copy editor. Let's look at that word, verbalizable. Now, is that one in the dictionary?
All right, wise guy, you know what I mean. So
I know what you mean. I got you.
yeah. So anyway, it seems as if this so far, and I shouldn't even be saying this because I've only toward the bottom of page 1, but it's good. So anyway, yeah, thanks. I just wanted to ask you whether it's been fiddled with anyone or anything besides Michael Ryce.
No, it came out of an unfolding experience really over the last 9 months that culminated Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And between when I worked with it yesterday on the show, I probably spent about 8 hours on it, trying to get into language what I had experienced.
Mm.
And I'm just doing some. I'm working on Jeannie's preface to her book and doing exactly what we just said. Okay, this sentence comes out of paragraph 4 and goes into paragraph 1, and that one goes. So I'm in the process of doing that.
Yeah. It's so much easier if you're not the author to do that.
Yes, yeah, you can stand back and different
It's
clarity
a
in
whole
brain cells.
different thing. Right. And you would be able to do it for yourself if you put it away for a while. It's the same with writing music. Sometimes I can't tell what's going to be a good tweak or a diminishment of the piece. So I put it away for a while,
Right.
and then I know later on. Same idea.
Yes. I know that there have been times when I've, had an emergency presentation to do, or one I wasn't prepared for, and in the 20 minutes before doing it, prepared it.
Yeah.
And it's always been terrible. It's always been all over the place.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you're getting so much material coming in, you were asking about yesterday, and I had just gotten in the door from a very intense weekend, and there was a lot of settling in and sorting out, and so
Right.
I can't comment on yesterday, but I wanted to ask you whether this PDF you sent is a a distillation of that or totally different?
No, that was a script. I followed that as a script. The PDF that Jeannie sent out has been edited a little bit
I see.
since yesterday's show, but that was basically the script for yesterday.
Oh, I see.
That was
Okay, good,
what I was covering. So
good.
if you listen to yesterday's show in whole, basically, well, actually, the first few minutes we started out with a conversation with Sean about an event that happened the night before, but that probably took 20 minutes. So probably about the 40-minute or 20-minute or so point in the session is when I kicked into that.
Right. Oh, good. Because the tail end, I got in about 20 minutes late to
I
the
saw
radio
that.
show.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you
So,
got most of it.
okay. But I didn't get what Sean was doing. But anyway, okay. Right. I, I
We had a
felt
fun
glad that you,
we had a fun experience with Sean.
oh, good.
The night before, he had texted me, and my phone was off, and I just happened to pick it up about a minute after he texted me, and he was in a meeting with a group of people and one of them was in a great deal of turmoil and pain and not wanting to deal with it, looking for ways to escape it. And so he texted and asked if I would come on and ended up doing a worksheet with this woman. And it was
Oh,
just like
wonderful.
one of the best worksheets I've
Oh,
ever done. I mean, she
oh,
just was ready to go. She got it in her body. She was in great resistance. No, I don't want to do this. And then finally consented and
wonderful.
opened
Oh,
a beautiful space. So
wonderful. How
that,
cool.
that happening is always amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Sweet. Well, anything else on your mind for today?
Well, no, you go ahead and do your stuff. I mean, I've had this weekend, but someday I'll tell you about it. We were saying goodbye to a nephew who died of basically having addicted himself to death with drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and died of throat cancer, but he was
Ouch.
much too young to have gone and a
What
very
age was he?
62 and
Mm,
like a boy. We've gone into this before. The educational system doesn't know how to handle gifted kids who are not the regular kind of kid. His report card showed A's if he liked what he was doing and F's if he didn't. And he just couldn't engage the way they needed and wanted him to. And he felt misunderstood and became a recluse and
mm,
did a lot of his own artwork. And he was a gorgeous artist, but very angry, a lot of political anger too. And we all are feeling some of that. He was spewing stuff long before most of us started in. But anyway, dismantling his house, it was a toxic zone, literally physically toxic because of
mm,
all the stuff he'd been doing and closed in, smoking, and yet we were up on Eastham, Cape Cod, which is just pristinely well cared for, protected, beautiful land. So it was
mm.
a big, wonderful weekend. So yeah, but go ahead, Michael, do your stuff
Well,
because you're on a
yeah,
roll.
holding the space for him.
Thanks.
It's a tough youth to come out of when life doesn't give you any tools and you feel battered. That's
Yeah, he was.
I
He
was
was.
lamenting yesterday. I don't know whether you got on the show at that moment, but lamenting just the with Sean in particular that he was a witness to this whole thing of this woman in resistance and not wanting to deal with. And then I got on and we literally, I mean, it was just a 10-minute worksheet, but you know, I suspect if we talk to her 6 months from now, that minute was a minute where her life was turned around and
Mhm.
just how insane it is that these tools, which have been on the planet for 2,000 years, virtually nobody has them.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what is for today. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll
Well,
hold you in a blessing.
thanks. Carry on.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Well, hey there, Terry. How did you? Welcome to Kathy. But did you find the definition you were looking for, Terry?
Jeannie's working on making that happen for me. I remember it got put in the chat, but then I didn't get it before the show ended, so I wasn't sure how to get back. But I think we got it pretty well figured out. Yeah.
Cool.
You still there? Yeah.
I am, yes. And
Hey, I want
I
to
was,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay. You get excited here. My brother, and they went in to put a port. He went into the hospital Monday to supposed to be a simple procedure to put a port in preparation for the chemotherapy and all the other stuff he's going to be doing. Well, once he got there, his blood pressure dropped. He went into AFib, and they
I lost your voice, Terry. You disappeared. I can just hear you in the background that you're just about kicking in. But if you can hear me, Terry, maybe try hanging up and calling back in again. We'll wait for you. Okay, he's back. That was fast.
yeah. Okay. What was the last thing you heard?
Okay. Nothing really. You cut out
Nothing.
just about as soon as you started talk. So.
He was
Okay.
talking about a port being put in
Oh,
his,
right. Yeah, you'd gotten to your brother having a port put in and they screwed it up.
Yeah, and then his blood pressure dropped, and he had AFib, which I guess is the irregular heartbeat. I haven't looked that up. You know what AFib is?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, and so then they shuttled him over to the emergency room, and then they diagnosed him with pneumonia and put him in. Kept him overnight. Talked to him this morning. They would keep him another night. And this morning I was reminded by my sweetie that he's been a daily drinker for almost 50 years now.
Oh,
And
his detox is going to be pretty heavy duty.
yes, and I was like, oh my God, I can't. I said, I've got to, because what happened with my grandfather who was a daily drinker for 60 years. He was what they call quote unquote functional.
Functional alcoholic.
And he drank, yeah, and he drank, but he always drank liquor. He drank whiskey every day. He used it as medicine, and he worked, and that kept him going up until he was about 76, and he slipped, and broke his hip, and then they put him in the hospital. I remember I was out in Texas or somewhere. By the time I got back, there was nothing left of my grandfather's mind. No one had shared that information with him, and that his coping tool that he had for 60 years was just abruptly taken away.
Right.
And and this was back in the late 70s. So, and the family secret, the daughter said, "Oh, would never confess to alcoholism in the family," even though it was just, just so bizarre, that behavior and all. So no one mentioned that to the doctors, and when I immediately saw him, I knew exactly what had happened. And they took away his coping tool for 60 years without any support, the kind of support that he needed, and he was gone. But that was the end of my grandfather's mind, and he died within a year or two after that. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, my brother, he needs to let them know what's going on." And so I sent a message to him and his wife, and luckily they had confessed that he was a daily alcohol user, and they administered fentanyl. So
Fentanyl.
just that word itself, yeah, that's the head of the one just killing all these people. But yet, that was the drug of choice to help him maintain
Substitute for
through this
alcohol.
session or whatever. That he's in the middle of that, but it's just incredible what the human being, the human mind can latch onto and carry and
That's for sure.
keep from he's got memories and stuff that are suppressed that I remembered them, and he was 2 years younger than me, and I remember
Right.
when he went into shock when he was like 4 years old, and I was 6, and my other brother was 3. They were both in shock from what was happening, and that was never really addressed in any depth or any real healing type environment. It was brushed over. It's like with my father when I approached him after I'd been sober for 7 years myself, and I wanted
Right.
to discuss some of the things. He got really angry and said, it's better to just move along and forget about things like that. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. Just don't talk about it. Stuff it in. Forget about it. Of course, he died from cirrhosis at the age of 61. 61 years, 11 months, and 2 weeks, And I think that just needed to be said, and that another level of large and study. And granted, we've made progress, and in fact that they have, at least we're talking about and acknowledged it, some
Acknowledge it's there, right? Yeah.
40 years later, that there's been some inroads into that. But it was kind of surprising to me that they chose fentanyl to assist him. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he's able to come through with this. And I wanted to go and see him, and and it kind of got me thinking this morning. He said, "No, I don't want any visitors. Absolutely not." And then I started thinking, "Oh my God, he's in a DTs, and he's in a, he knows what he looks like and what he's feeling. He just doesn't want anybody around him." So, but he is he is communicating with me, and my best friend from high school, same thing, very similar. Only he was worse than my brother, if that's possible, because he used a lot of heavy drugs and he didn't just stick to beer for 20 years as his remedy. He absolutely refused to allow me to come visit him at the hospital in his last weeks of life.
Yeah.
And just wouldn't do it. And in fact, he would just shut off communication completely. So it's tough stuff, but yet
that's pretty tough stuff.
It's also a spur for me.
Wake up call.
Yeah, it's even deeper. I mean, I was already committed, but I'm really committed. If it's even possible to be even more committed to share, and to try to get this out in a way that more people can engage or at least have the opportunity. So I'm working on a little project, and I'll tell you more about it later. And one of the first little pieces that I was writing or brought up was desire. And to me, like desire is another form of grace. It's a desire to me is completely a gift from God when we get this before unentertained thought comes into my mind, and then I am transformed at some level, and I now have a desire to engage. I'll use Hawaiian work, for example, that the desire to engage and to consciously participate is truly an act of grace and a divine intervention. So I appreciate that. And yet, that was one of the things that Wilson, I'm starting to ramble a little bit. I'll move on unless you give me some feedback on this. But like Bill Wilson struggled with that. He says, how do we facilitate a spiritual crisis in these hopeless alcoholics? And that's when they started experimenting with different drugs and whatever. It's a big controversy in the 50s. They thought maybe they could create a collapse with
to drug them out of it.
LSD and this kind of stuff to make a spiritual collapse where they would be open to this experience. But they moved on from that. There's no human remedy in the form of synthetics. I say the remedy is human. It's one person sharing with another and being there supporting each other. That's the remedy, and us doing what you're doing and talking and being there for folks. And just that's the hard part of the job, is sitting by, so to speak, waiting for that desire to be sparked in someone.
Right. Well, three thoughts I have. One.
Yeah, Susan emanates
go ahead.
that too with her grandson. Yeah, with Susan and her grandson, I know we just really want that desire so badly to come online, and we'd do anything if we could help them to get that. And we do what we can. We're there and do the best we can. But that desire is such a precious thing, and I'd like to hear some on that. So there you go, buddy.
Well, okay. Well, if you break the word down, D is of, and sire, the sire of a horse is the father. It literally means of the father. Desire. And I think we get those sparks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, the father.
I mean,
of the father.
Literally means desire. Of the father. Okay. The sire is, And so to recognize that, unfortunately, sometimes our desire comes through a totally distorted instrument, and it comes out as, crazy time. But the pure impetus that comes from, and my take, most people, their lives are run by the goals stored in carbon-based memory. They live their whole lives just a replicate mind running a show. When in fact the desire, the thing that originates, frames, and sets the goal, it's you remember from the laws of living, the spiritual faculties, will. That will is a faculty of the soul, and our the impetus toward behavior is designed to come from that level, not just the replicate mind. One of the thoughts that I have about your brother that you share, and I hear and understand, geez, I just want to be, I don't want to be seen like this, but it might be a gift to give your brother to really have it'd be kind of brutal perhaps in a way, a heart to heart, and say, you know what, I know you've been drinking alcohol for X number of years. I've been with a lot of people in their withdrawal and such, and I know it's nasty, I know it's ugly, but you know something, brother? I really do cherish you, and I would like your permission to, and I'll ignore all of that, just be there with you, just be there for you. Really letting him know that the only thing you want to do is just presence love for him. Because most people have never had that in their whole lives. And that might create an opening for him to be willing to be seen in the state that he's in, and it's probably pretty rough.
I agree, and I'm sure I'm only one of 3 people he's talking to, so I feel very blessed that I'm at least allowed to communicate with him, and he's seen where I went, and his wife too. She somewhat knows about it, but they really didn't understand it either, because they're not alcoholics. They don't know it from the other side too. And he witnessed me. It took me 3 hospitalizations, like over 50 days in lockups, in the hospitals and what have you, to begin to break through the desire and the you know, that whole thing, you know, the whole
Yeah. Yeah.
aspect of the disease. And you know what you said too reminded me of my sponsor Tom. He was the one I talk about quite frequently, and I ended up spending 5 years with him. He was studying to be a Jesuit priest when the alcoholism had taken him to the place where he had plotted out and was planning suicide and had lit the match to burn the charcoals to exhaust the oxygen and taking the sleeping pills, and was, you know, it was over, you know.
Yeah.
And then someone happened to, you know, was God intervened, and someone came back and kicked the door in and found him there, and he was like, "Oh God, God." I says, and he said, what happened was he realized that it didn't matter. He had to face it. So he had a breakthrough. But he would say the chains of addiction are too weak to be felt till they're too strong to be broken. That was one of the things that he
That's an
would
interesting
preach.
one.
Yeah, they're too
Yeah.
weak to be felt until they're too strong to be broken, you know. And in my reflections over the years, it's like I boiled it down to like, what was I looking for? I was looking to feel better. I just wanted to feel better. I
Yeah.
wanted relief from the devils and the torments and the pain and all that stuff, you know. And in that endeavor to feel better, and it talks about this, and William James talks about a variety of religious experiences where he says the alcoholic and the addict, they come across the substance, and for a brief moment they think they found the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
But
I found God.
The Holy Grail is
Relief from pain.
exactly what Tom described. Then it becomes, you know, too strong once they realize it's not the antidote, and getting through to the other side takes them. It takes the divine intervention, desire of the Father. Desire. Oh, I love that. I love that. That is so good. Yep, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. The other thing that you might do with your brother is remind him that he's seen you there, that you've been there, done that, and that he's seen you in it. And, you know, did he judge you? Did he disassociate from you because of that state you were in that hospitalization? And that might just help open the door for him to say, yeah, come. I do need somebody to be here that knows and understands. And, you know, just being able to embrace that child of 3.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Still breathing with you and opening the space, whether you have to do it from a distance or whether he'll allow you into his presence, will hold the space. And the
Yeah.
other thing you resonate is this is exactly what I've been writing about this morning. I've been working on the introduction to Jeannie's book, or the foreword, pardon me, to Jeannie's book. And just about everything you just said, let me share a couple of paragraphs. Jeannie sets the record straight and shows us the difference between the true work of forgiveness and our culture's surface level external pardoning, which allows people to live in the comfortable ignorance of blame as they marinate in generational disease patterns, all the while asking, why is this happening to me again? She, through raw self-exposure, illustrates that what is practiced throughout the world today is a Greek-based distortion that substituted pardoning for forgiveness. With her writing, she brings home a deep experiential understanding of the harm done when this single insane act of substitution disappeared actual forgiveness, the tool Jesus taught 2,000 years ago for entering the deeper chamber of the heart, today called the unconscious, and removing diseased family and personal patterns. Jesus taught a tool for collapsing the false pain-based constructs of the mind, entering that deeper chamber, and removing the diseased energy patterns. Turned on its head, we've been told forgiveness is about letting ourselves and others off the hook, rather than the Aramaic internal process Jesus taught. And so, yeah, that's the conversation you just had is what's been on my mind this morning as I've been working on Jeannie's introduction or forward. So breathing with you, my brother, and with your brother. That's got to be a challenge when you've got tools and there's no interest or no capacity. But we'll hold the space that maybe you can literally presence the energy, whether you're physically with him or not, that sparks that desire to say, I can defeat this. I can come out the other side of this. So breathing with you. Any other thoughts for you, Terry? I presume not. So how about Kathy or Sally or Andrea? How are you doing? Hope all is well in your world.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you. I actually had some questions from the
Great.
codependency course.
Yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool. A statement that you made in the course was that why is no, that's my question I wrote down. I'm asking, why is it so hard to come back from once the files are opened with the power person dynamic?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember you saying something like, once the files are open, it's too hard to come back from that.
Well, I think the area you're referring to is what I had suggested is once we put somebody in our power person file,
Mm-hmm.
it can be difficult to let them out. Is that what you're referring to?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That is a really powerful thing to understand because remember that. So let's think about the file system. So I have this file in my power person, and it represents what's in that power person file represents the deepest degenerational pain than anybody has ever experienced. I mean, these power person dynamics pass from generation to generation to generation. So if you think of it energetically, every fear, every sadness, every grief, every rage, every hatred, every vengeance, every harm tied to that power person, the core of each of those things is like an octopus
Mm-hmm.
with tentacles that reach out and grab on powerfully. So take any one, let's imagine, I think I just mentioned 7 or 8, let's say I just mentioned 8 different core emotional traumas that most people have or many people have with their power person. Imagine each one of those is an octopus and there are 8 tentacles coming out. So how do I transfer somebody? How do I link somebody into my power person file? If there was an important goal that I had with my power person, and it may seem like nothing to anybody else, but if it was a goal of a child of 3 to be, let's say, just simply to be approved of, that octopus, the child of 3, who's now the man or woman that's 62, how many hundreds of times have they not been approved of and wanted it and cried over it and been sad over it and hurt and pain? So someone comes along and exhibits extreme disapproval. Well, instantly, if you use the metaphor, instantly I open my power person file, I let that octopus out and put it right over their heads. The tentacles just reach down and grip. And there's when you realize the generational reinforcement of that power person dynamic, and then how many times, like, one of the questions that we ask on the worksheet, or one of the exercises, is once you cancel a goal, then we ask you to look at and use the initials of everybody you've ever had that goal for. And around those big issues, if somebody's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they've had that goal for 10, 20, 30, 50 different people in their lives. And so the energetic latching on, if you think of it that way, is pretty tight. And in order to let that person out of the power person files, you got to cut every one of those tentacles. And that's a significant amount of work. So that would be my offering as to why once we link somebody into our power person file, it's not easy to let them out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
And of course, cutting out each of those tentacles is a worksheet. Or maybe, as Yeshua said when I think it was Peter, he suggested he do a worksheet, and Peter did one, and then he turned to him and he says, how many darn worksheets do we have to do? Is 7 enough? If I forgive my brother 7 times, is that enough? And Yeshua says, well, no, actually 77 times 70.
Mhm.
And he's saying energetically, these tentacles that wrap around the people in our lives are not easy to break loose, but it can be done. And of course, one of the most important things to do is day one, when you understand this power person dynamic, how it developed and how people get linked into it, is even in the situations where there is some form of trauma coming up, to remember that all it takes is 2 files to resonate at the same time for them to become linked together.
Mhm.
And consciously, purposely link it to something loving, something based in love. You're talking the other day about working with your girls, and, maybe, what one of them did that brought that pain up for the other one could have, for you as a mother, resonated something in a negative realm. And that would be the place to stop, forgive, and instantly in that moment, link that daughter to the way you cherish her. Imagine holding her as a newborn. Uh, Imagine holding her as a newborn and then placing that newborn in her arms. But do something that starts to energetically link to the side of the board that's keyed in love rather than the side of the board that's keyed to hostility and fear. And it's a process. It takes time. It can be done, but it takes definite conscious effort.
Mhm.
And it goes through stages. There'll be issues. I know I'm speaking now, of course, from my own personal experience, but where there was a power person dynamic, and a certain behavior would occur, and I would crunch my jaw and hold my breath and go, "Why the heck?" Stop, do some forgiveness, and then you do that work, and it happens again, and you look at it, and you can give it a bit of a smile and go, you know, I now have hooked this person into the space of love in me rather than all these hostilities and fears. So that comes into play in my mind. And I can look at that and say, I don't like it when you do that, but, it really isn't the deal I made of it originally when I was in all that pain and rage that behavior resonated in me. And then you get to the point, once you're pretty much through that issue, the same thing can happen, and you just kind of smile at it. And I think of one particular situation for me personally, and that behavior now I kind of think is kind of funny and cute.
Mhm.
Not talking about anybody we know, Jeannie.
Hmm.
So it's a process. It certainly doesn't happen overnight,
Mhm.
but it works, and
Okay,
it
and
and it
then
takes patience.
right. Yeah, I think you have such a beautiful description of a trauma bond when those files open in both people. And if they can't come to a space of love, it just escalates. And that's been my experience and my history, is that it just all opens, and then it becomes more difficult and more difficult to come back to love. And even when I was able to like suggest, that I really think that love is the answer here, and how can we get there, I just didn't have, I don't know why I didn't have the willing partner. Like, that's something within me that I haven't discovered yet, because I had the right idea, but for whatever reason, the reflection I was getting back was unwillingness. So I haven't discovered that yet.
Right.
But another
Well, and
question.
it probably, if you did a worksheet around that, have you done any worksheets on cancel the need for a partner to be willing?
No.
Okay, so you might find that that's a projection of a part of your own hidden unwillingness. So it suggests you might want to do that worksheet. And chances are there's a part of your mind that's in a tantrum saying, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. And that might be a projection of it.
Mm,
And
thank you.
and here's another piece too. You don't actually have to get to love for the healing to start. You can look at and recognize, and you don't even have to get to willingness. You can look at and recognize, okay, I realize I've got a goal that's recruited or called into activity some unresolved hostility or fear in me that I don't want to face, that I don't want to deal with, but and I certainly am not feeling any love moving in my physiology, but I can at least acknowledge that I've got some responsibility here, and I can cancel that goal. I can collapse at least some part of this pained construct of my mind. And that will kind of become a wedge that helps you to move forward, to climb the hill.
Mm-hmm. That
You
makes
know,
sense.
a climber, if you ever watch people who are climbing mountains, what do? They always put a divot in and something they can hold on to above their heads. They can't get there yet, but they are able to reach up and put this, hammer this thing in, and now they've got a hold. And that can be a hold that can help you to move, to get to the place where you can really shift physiology out of, a massive history, genetic and otherwise, of hostility and fear, and start to move it toward the space of love.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. And that helps clear it up. And then one more that relates to this. Did you say in the videos that relationship substitution happens only once you perceive that the person, like the new relationship, whatever form that takes, has power over you?
No, no,
When,
if I did, I misspoke. Part of developing the power person dynamic is that this power person has more power over your life than you do. And so someone triggers that power person dynamic simply by violating a goal that you had for your power person. That's how they get linked into that file. They don't become your power person, although in your mind it may look like it, because once you link them into it, now instead of literally right down to physiology, instead of getting, the picture in your mind from the file that you actually built in relationship to them before this event happened, instead of the data coming from there, the data, once that shift takes place, is literally coming out of the file based in the power person. So they don't become your power person, but they get dressed in all the emotional baggage and sometimes right down to the facial features of the person who was your power person.
okay, that really clears that up. Thank you. And then are you able to also speak on I did look up the videos, but I wasn't finding what you're referring to. What is his name? It's about how you were trying to describe that we don't use our eyes as these peepholes. It's information just going in.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't understand that.
Okay. So you got your pen handy?
Mm. I sure can.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So write down the name Anil, Anil
Mm-hmm.
Seth.
I did. I looked up his videos. Yeah.
Oh, so you've watched that then, his TED Talk?
Yeah, that's actually the one I found.
Okay. So that didn't gel for you?
He didn't talk about it in the way I thought you were. You were saying that information just comes in, but I'm not sure what information comes in. Like I guess my confusion is that I believe we're just dreaming. There is no form, there's nothing, but we're dreaming this dream. And you're suggesting that information is going in. And I always thought of my eyes as projectors of what I'm dreaming up, almost like a movie projector. So I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time like putting it all into place.
Okay, well, let me see if I can help to clear that up. I would not think of your eyes as no, the eyes are not a projector in any way, shape, or form, would be my take. The eye, literally from an energetic level, is an energy receiver, just like the TV antenna on the roof, and it's attuned to light energy. So information is carried on light energy and enters the eye. The eye is a one-way valve. Energy comes into it, but you don't see back out of it. We tell people, and we've been trained, that we're seeing through our eyes. But the best way I've found to explain it is that when we say I see something, what happens is information has come in through my eyes and it's resonated data in my brain, or I should more properly say in my mind, which includes every cell in the body. So stored data is resonated from the past, including things like the power person dynamic, is resonated into activity. Now, my mind generates out of that activity a picture. So the human mind has this rather unique ability. I've got a television sitting in front of me. If I take a pair of wire cutters and an axe and I go in and I cut everything right from the antenna, the wires in the antenna, into the TV, into the tuner, I will not find a picture anywhere. But yeah, I get all these pictures on the screen. How does that happen? So in the TV set, you might remember, well, I don't know, this may not have happened at the same time in Canada as it happened here, but back a few decades ago, the FCC in its great wisdom decided that they were going to change the broadcast industry. And at that time, all broadcast signals were what they called analog. They were frequencies that carried information. There's what they like, if you're watching channel 2, channel 2 operates at a certain frequency. It's called a carrier wave. And then superimposed on that carrier wave is a signal. And the TV decodes the signal. And by decoding it, it turns it into a picture. It causes the pixels on your TV or your phone or whatever to light up, and you get a picture out of it. Well, so the TV has this ability to convert information into pictures. That's exactly what our mind does. So an event happens in the world, carried on the carrier wave of light hits my eye. My mind resonates in response to that, and now my mind converts what's resonating in me into pictures.
Hmm.
And what I see, as opposed to I'm looking out there seeing it, what I see is metaphorically painted on the inside of my eyeballs. So I'm not looking out. You can't look out at the world through your eyes. It's just not possible. It's a one-way valve. Information comes in, and we paint the pictures on the inside, and we think we're looking out there. That's why the forgiveness process is so effective, because that whole process is driven by goals. When I recognize that whole process is driven by goals, and I cancel a goal, the picture that my mind is generating collapses. I'm not seeing thoughts. I'm seeing my thoughts converted to pictures. If the event that's happening in the world resonates a thought disorder in me, something that's out of line that doesn't belong in the human system, and that thought disorder starts to move, it's shown to me as a picture painted on the inside of my eyeballs. When I cancel the goal that drives that picture process, the picture collapses. When it collapses, that which I'm conscious of, what I'm aware of, collapses in on its own footprint. And now it gives me access to what's in my unconscious that's being converted into this picture. And when I bring the thought disorders that are in my unconscious, that's converted into these pained pictures and pained perceptions, when I bring them forward and expose them to love, then they dissolve. When I breathe into them, the energy of them literally dissipates and I'm freed of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of it does. Some of it, I think there's so many different concepts that I have that really deeply resonate in my knowing, and then how to put them together. I actually think I'll just go back and listen to this again after, once you put it online,
Cool.
just to keep seeing how it integrates. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you have the PowerPoint for the forgiveness process?
I think I seen you just put it on the app when I've been doing the forgiveness sheets.
Mm-hmm.
It has a link to it there now.
Okay. Well,
Is
I'd
that the
watch
one
that.
you're referring to?
Yeah, that explained. I mean, it literally took me, in the early days of using the Aramaic forgiveness process, I had actually been introduced to it by a friend, and I was doing other workshops, and I would talk about it in my workshops on occasion. And the process never particularly impressed me. However, over time, as I mentioned it to people, I'd have some people come back and say, Michael, I've been doing that canceling goal thing. That's really powerful. And I'd say, well, really? Okay. And that really brought my attention to it. And I didn't know why it worked. I just knew that people came back to me and said, wow, that's really changed my life. And it literally took me, if it takes a little time to get this clear, it literally took me 35 years working with that full time to be able to explain.
Mm.
Perception is a construct of the mind. It's driven by goals. Cancel the goal, the perception collapses. When it collapses in on its own footprint. That's the unconscious. Now you're in your unconscious with love present and you're breathing, and the energy dissipates. It took me 35 years to learn to explain that.
Mm.
And that's what it's explained. There was actually a gentleman who came to our teacher training, our Why Is This Happening to Me Again teacher training back, 20 years or so ago now. And he was a corporate trainer and really good with PowerPoints. He said, hey, Mike, I want to take this forgiveness process and get it into a PowerPoint. So he created that gentleman named Bill Costantino. Thank you, Bill. And so you might want to watch that a couple of times. We literally spent about a year going back and forth to develop that PowerPoint to explain the process.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Delighted. Appreciate your questions. Any other thoughts? Anything else on your mind then?
No, just super grateful again that that I found everybody at the perfect time, just at such a lost time in my life. And I'm just feeling so much, I want to say like authority over my own mind.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
like
the objective.
not in a dominating way, but just like in a very, thought distortions come up and it's like, oh, wow, that feels weird. Okay, what do I need to do? And I just have like these easy steps to come back into my own neutrality and power. And it's just been amazing. So thank you.
Delighted. Glad to be on the team, young lady. All right. Well, we're down to about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to invite everybody to take a moment and just get quiet and allow yourself to just take a couple of deep, sweet breaths. Breathe through your mouth, through a relaxed jaw. And as you breathe in, allow yourself to just be aware of yourself, not of your body, but of the fact that the body is an appearance in the mind, but that underneath it, there is an energy system, for want of a better term. And allow yourself to just tap into that energy system and know that it's designed to have a free flow of information and energy through every aspect of it. And if there's any place that there's tightening or restriction, that tightening or restriction creates a lack of blood flow. And you want to just allow everything in your structure to soften. And as you breathe, just imagine that there's this heart of light and love sitting right at the top of your head. And with each breath that you take now, that heart of love and light goes from the top of your head down to the front of your face. Goes from the front of your face, softening, relaxing, and opening your throat. Breath gets easier as it drops down to your chest, your heart, your lungs, your shoulders. And that light and that presence of love just permeates and softens all of that tissue. And as you gently breathe, allow it to move down to your pelvis, your hips. In the presence of that light and that love, soften it. Just let go. You place that heart of love and light on each of your legs. Your upper legs, your thighs soften. The back of your legs, just let go. Your calves and down to your feet. And just allow yourself to imagine that you can sense and extend that energy to anybody in your world that you choose to. You just carry it down through your own structure and gently carry it on the breath. You can send it anywhere in the world. There is nothing we know of in the physical world that is dense enough to stop the high energy wave that leaves the mind when we think a thought. And so just allow yourself to embrace, to extend that love. Notice how precious it is that you actually have in you the breath of God, literally. Like what a privilege, what a gift. And allow it to reach into the deepest places of you and bring solace and release.